I'm gonna need for you to make a payment today.
Hey, you got the spare change?
We begin today with breaking news.
Jobs are hard to find and the rent is due, but mama ain't here to see me through. Sometimes I feel like I'm trapped in a cage. Gotta get out of here, 'cause you can't get ahead on minimum wage. It's never enough, never enough. It don't take much to read the signs. Sometimes I think I'm gonna go out of my mind with pressure, babe. I can feel the
Hello, I'm Eileen Bild with Ordinary to Extraordinary Life OTELproductions, and I'm here today with Vibe, RW, producer, entertainer, songwriter, and musician. Hi, Vibe.
Hey,
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So we're going to talk today a little bit about your story. Music always has a story, and there's always a musician behind the music. So if you could, we're going to start out by having you tell us, when did you first know that music was going to be your life?
Wow, that's kind of a funny thing because my father, he was a sports star in school, and he raised me to be a sports athlete ever since I could walk. And I remember one day I was playing with my cousins, and we were down. They used to live in apartment complexes down. Well, actually, it was projects back in the days, to call them. And we were down there playing, and we went in the clubhouse, and they said, "We're gonna go in the clubhouse and see if we can get some Twinkies or whatever." So we walked in there. There was this upright piano, huge, tall piano, raggedy keys. It was worn out, and I remember something about it drew me over to it, and I touched the keys, and at that moment, it's crazy, I can't explain it, but I knew that that's what I would be doing the rest of my life. I used to love to go down there and visit them. I mean, I came up in a middle-class family, so to me, I didn't know the difference. I just went down there to hang out, and when I touched that piano that day, I knew that that's what I was supposed to be doing the rest of my life. I didn't know how to play. I didn't know, but I would sat there for hours. And they tried to get me to come out and play football or whatever, and I wouldn't leave. I was just sitting there, and I was pecking on it, but I could hear it. And then one day my mother, she said, because I was interested, she said, "I'm thinking about buying a piano." She says, because I always wanted to learn how to play. So she was buying it for her. And I wasn't that interested in music yet, but I just knew I liked that piano. And when my mother bought it, I stayed on it night and day. And she would have to wake me up out of my sleep late at night, tell me to go to bed because I had played on it so long I'd fall asleep right on the keys. And I've never stopped playing from that day. So it found me, I didn't find it.
How old were you?
At that time, I was 11 years old when it hit me that I knew that I was going to play. Before that, the interest was actually piqued by my grandmother, who bought me a 22-key organ. They don't make those anymore. But it was a 22-key organ. I used to mess around with it. And but I didn't really get serious until I was like 11. But I really knew. That's when I knew I would be playing music.
It was kind of in the heart.
Yeah. So knowing that you can't explain.
So,
to heaven.
so how would you say that music has impacted your life from that point?
How did it impact my life? Well, little did I know at the time where I decided, or I knew that music was going to be what I did. I didn't know that it would carry me through a lot of life situations and circumstances and a lot of things that I went through. Had it not been for music, I don't know how I would have made it through it. It was kind of my refuge. It wasn't something that I went into thinking I'm going to be a star or I'm going to be successful or I'm going to be. It wasn't that at all. That was my way of tapping into another level of self, a deeper part of me, and I never looked at it as I'm a star or anything like that. It was just it's how I got through and survived through various aspects of life. Life is the master teacher, and music was the tool I had to keep the peace or the balance in my life.
I like that. So what would you say are some of the highlights of your music career? So going through the struggles and using music to help you process and be able to move from one stage of life to the next. So what have been some of your highlights?
What's funny is at 11 I started playing, 12, 13, and by the time I was 14, entering into high school as a freshman, my cousin Kimball, who's passed away since then, he was a star saxophone player, first chair in the high school band. He was the man. Everybody knew Kimball. He was, and I remember he came over to the house after I started going to the high school, and I told him I pecked on the keyboards a little bit. And he heard me. I could only play with 3 fingers. Tick, 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 tick. I was playing like that. And he goes, "Cuz, you're amazing. You can hear it. You can hear the music. You got it. Just keep going." He started giving me these albums, and the guy's name was Joe Sample. You can look him up. Amazing. He's legendary. He was a piano player, but it sounded like he was playing with 3 hands, not 2. Amazing pianist. And he says, "Listen to this, man. Just keep listening to him, man. You're going to be great." So I'm thinking, I don't have a chance of learning how to play the piano if he's expecting me to play like. But he believed in me. He kept telling me I could do it. And there was something in me that thought, man, music is what I do. So I learned to play. I wrote a couple little songs, just 3, 4 chords. And he would play the sax so great, he would make me sound good. He had me sounding like amazing, and I was just going jing, 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 jing. So people would come up to us and say, "Man, you guys sounded great. You're the piano player, huh?" I said, "Well, I don't really play piano. I'm just kind of." And one day he told me, he said, "You stop telling people you don't really play. You are a piano player." And he made me start seeing and visualizing that which I was intimidated to visualize because I didn't see myself there yet. But he said, "You got to start telling people you are a piano player. You got to start seeing yourself playing. You got to live this thing, and you got to believe it and trust it." He saw something in me I didn't see in myself.
And he wanted you to believe in yourself.
And he wanted me to believe it that much. And that day changed my whole life because I began to say, I am a piano player. I am. So I remember when I was still in 9th grade. I didn't know anybody. I went to a private school my whole life. I was, like I said, I came up in the suburbs. Went to a private school, and when I got to Ottawa Hills, I didn't know anybody. No one knew me. I didn't know them, and so I signed up to be the curtain puller at the talent show because I wanted to be a part of it. So I was pulling the curtain, and all of a sudden there was this technical glitch, and lady, Miss Harris, Ernestine Harris, who held the talent shows, she says, "Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to be down for 3 minutes and they can't get it going. What can I do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." I was nervous, but I said, I can play the grand piano. You got a grand piano out there. And she says, "Can you play?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "Get the piano out there." So they wheeled the piano out there, and there's 1,500 kids in the auditorium. And I don't know anybody. And I walked out there. I could hear my heart in my ears. Boo, 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 boo. But I could hear my cousin Kimball saying, "You are a piano player. Don't let nobody tell you you're not a piano player." So I believed it. And I went out there and I started playing. I closed my eyes. I started playing. And I blanked everything out. And I was playing my little songs what I knew how to play. And I got done. Everybody was screaming, "Yeah!" And the next day I was like the most popular kid in the school.
How great.
Because I was a musician. And that solidified the fact that I would never stop doing this.
I would say that was the turning point.
It was the turning point.
Yes.
It was a turning point. Being accepted, you know how challenging that is, going to your new kid in school and at that time. So, yeah, it was, and I knew it. I knew it.
It don't take much to read the signs. Sometimes I think I'm gonna go out of my mind with pressure. Hell, I can feel the pressure. Pressure, baby. I wanna slow down, but I gotta keep up.
So, on one level, you have this experience that brought you to a realization that I am a musician. And then we all have life journey that takes us on highs and lows. So, share with me, and those that will be watching this, the struggles that you've been through. How have they made you who you are today?
Wow. It's pretty funny because my mother was super religious in coming up. I was brought up in church, in a Pentecostal church, real heavy in the faith movement and those types of things. My father was more of a worldly type guy, more of a, he was out there getting it, hustling and do whatever he could do to make sure that we had what we needed to have. So he was in the blues and jazz. So Mom was in the gospel, Pops was in the blues and jazz. We were the first black family in a suburban neighborhood. So our next door neighbors, we became like family. We celebrated every holiday together, everything together. And their parents died young, so I ended up, their father told my father, said, you know, if I die, something happens to me, I need you to look out for the kids. So they did. So I inherited 2 blonde-haired, blue-eyed brothers, 2 blonde-haired, blue-eyed sisters. But before Pop died, their father, which I call Pop too, he was in the country. So as I played, I get this advice from people. Mom said, if you learn to play gospel, oh man, you get that anointing and God will be in it. Pop said, if you learn to play this jazz and this one, you'll get it. My grandfather said, if you learn to play this blues and Ray Charles, yeah, you'll really be doing something. And then Pop next door, he was in the country, so he said, if you learn some country, boy, that's real music you be playing. My brother Stanley's like, yeah, forget all that. You got to learn some metal, man. He was in the metal and rock and roll and the whole deal. So I got a little bit of everything. I was trying to pull it all in. So I was privileged that way to be exposed to a wide variety of music, which kind of developed my style to where it is now. So it's kind of surprising to some people when I walk in to hear me do certain genres of music that they didn't expect me to do, because like, I didn't know he knew that. So
some of the struggles enabled you to pull from those different genres.
Well, the struggles that happened along the way is as I got older and started to venture off into the bars and playing, and then other not so pleasant lifestyles happened. You know, I experienced a lot of different things. The drinking, I had experimentation with drugs, and then I got married, and then I got into that whole situation, raising a family, trying to balance all of that, getting away from all of that. But then I went through divorce, which was very hard. My daughter was ripped from me at 11 years old, and trying to cope with that, the pain and the hurt that happened with that. And all through, woven through all of that was life teaching me through music how to find that place of balance, how to find that place of peace. And no matter what I was going through, that always kept me, and it always sustained me. That was the way that life handed me what I needed to take the pieces and put it on that platform of what was left, or what was good, to be able to salvage what I went through, the broken pieces, and put them together and learn from it and go to the next step. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, when I went through, my kid's mother ended up going through some situations where we got divorced, and I remember I had just built a studio. It was a $30,000 thing. We transferred the garage into a studio, and there I was what took 2 incomes to maintain. Now it was just me. So I watched my ship go down I watched everything go down to nothing. I remember the emotional stress of that and the feeling of just wanting to go to sleep sometimes or just wanting to escape from it just so I wouldn't fall apart. I'd rather fall asleep or just that feeling, and I can relate to that to other people. I can talk to people now about stuff I couldn't talk to about before, and just that whole feeling of having to deal with that and come through that and ending up in a one room, renting a room from some people, from always having everything I needed. I worked for the auto industry. I made great money. I was always independent, and there I was. How do you make it through this? There was another situation. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know what was going on. And I was allowed to get through that. It was like the Creator looks out for you no matter where you are. You just have to keep believing. You have to keep trusting. I don't care how bad it seems. If you keep moving forward. I always had music. Music was always, and greater songs came out of it. What was forged out of me was the better parts of me that otherwise probably would never have been. Then I ended up in Florida, get a call from a preacher who says, I saw your resume online. Would you want to come and be the music director for my church? I did that, and I got in a loving environment. I met great families, and then all of a sudden something happened there where the whole church, he turned the church against me. And here I was with a great job. Now I had no job, and here I was in Florida. I knew nobody. What do you do in those moments where you have no family? Your friends have turned on you, and now here you are. I hadn't been playing. I didn't know anything about Jacksonville. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I went to a place where I would go eat, and I told the lady, I said, if you have all your friends here Saturday, I'm a professional entertainer. She didn't know me for that at all, and she let me come in. I said, I'll come in and entertain your crowd, and she did, and one thing led to another. There I was with no hope. I went in there to play for free. I said, just give me my meal for free, and I went in there, and people started handing me business cards. Have you ever been here? Call me. You need to be here. And so I started making my way through this maze of life in Jacksonville, and now today I can say, through going through all of that I've gotten kind of well known so far. Met some great musicians, a great artist here. Great new family of people that I've met you guys. You guys are amazing. It's just been an incredible journey. Got a new single that I'm about to release. So I went from basically feeling like I had nothing to still having the tangible part of me, which was the gift of music that I was given. That was my gift. That was my contribution to the world. It's never left me. And that has come together now to where there's a whole different light at the end of the tunnel. And for anybody that may be listening, that needs encouragement for wherever they are, that may be afraid to step away from corporate America or whatever situation it is that's hindering them from doing all or being all they can be, I'm a living testimony that, man, if you just keep making it, it's hard. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. Does it feel like you're going through hell? Yes, it feels like you're going through hell. You feel like sometimes you can't make it, not one more day? Of course. But you can. And that the light is there.
Giving it all I got, but it still ain't enough. Don't stop, don't stop. You can't call this living if you gotta pretend. You're playing in the game that you can't win. No.
And there's a not to be like Bible oriented, but there was an old scripture that said, at the hint of water, the root shall live. Everything else can be chopped away, and it can look like the tree is dead and gone. But at the hint, just at the hint of water, if it even thinks there's water, it'll find it, and it'll begin to grow and live again. And for anybody that's living, that's going through, that's listening, that's going through hurt or pain, that's going through feeling like they can't make it at the end of the rope, there is water. And there is a hint of water, even if in the life that's left in your situation. And man, there's a whole new life, a whole new growth, a whole new wealth of produce that's going to happen, a whole new wealth of harvest that's going to happen if you don't give up, if you keep going forward.
I call that the opportunity and the map of extraordinary experiences that come to light
Exactly.
through pushing forward and having
Exactly.
that hope.
Exactly. And so I had it, we were talking about music and getting through situations, and that's been my hope. It's been my, and it's always been in the back of my mind to touch the world through songs and touch the world through my music. But I wouldn't be at the place I am now had I not gone through the situations to have something real to offer.
And to kind of go back in time based on what you've just said in your experiences and your journey, if you could, you know things now that you didn't know when you were younger. But that younger self, what that you know now that perhaps you would like your younger self to know, and what would you say to him?
Well, if I could have given him some advice, I would have said to move on what you know sooner, because there's an expiration date that happens on the seasons. There's people that we've met and things that we've been involved in that were good for a season. That's why we got in it. But when the expiration date hit, a lot of times, because of remembering the parts of it that was good, we're not seasoned enough when we're young and don't know to know that it's time to cut it and move on. So a lot of times we end up staying in the situation longer because mentally we haven't freed our mind yet to know that this energy is not conducive, is not useful. There are things that are useful and things that are not useful. When you're younger, you hold on in hopes that maybe it'll go back around or get better or it'll turn back. When it's over, you know it's over. And so the younger me didn't know. It was the commitment and being there and wanting it to work out that held me longer in some situations than I should have. So if I had anything to say, it would be to use that wisdom in knowing when the seasons are over.
And would you agree that sometimes if we don't act on our intuition, that sometimes we get the same experience over and over again?
Oh, yeah.
Until we kind of acknowledge them and we understand that, and then the new extraordinary experiences can come through.
Absolutely. If you're willing to sit in the classroom after it's been dismissed, the teacher is willing to give you the test again. It's pretty simple.
Yes.
It don't take much to read the signs. Sometimes I think I'm gonna go out of my mind with pressure. I know I can feel the pressure. Babe.
Okay, so I'm curious as to who are some of the big name people that you have in the music industry that maybe you've rubbed elbows with or have played with. I'd like to hear, your experiences with that.
Wow, because I came up in two different genres. It was like gospel was a big part of, and then later on contemporary Christian music was a big part of coming up. So I got to play along with like Martha Menizzi. People that are in that arena know that. Everybody's heard of Andre Crouch. And Vanessa Bell and the Winans and Marvin Sapp we were in the group together. He's like iconic. If you want to like Google any of these people, you'd be surprised how big they really are. Then on the other side of it, I've done like stuff for people like Joe Torre, BT, and Hamburger, some of the comedians that we've opened up for Def Comedy Jam, stuff that came to town in Michigan. There's a Gladys Knight show that we opened up for the Ohio Players, Roger Zapp. It just goes on. But the guy I mentioned, Joe Sample, the keyboard player that my cousin Kimball introduced me to, how I first started learning how to play the piano. Years later, like when I was in Atlanta, I get a phone call and it says, "Man, somebody canceled on a show. Would you be able to do this show with us tomorrow?" I don't know if you ever heard of this guy. His name is Joe Sample. So I end up on stage opening for the guy that I listened to my whole life, which was Joe Sample. Shook his hand and got to talk with him. It was an amazing experience. So from the beginning of how it started to actually meeting the man, and he passed away since then, just a couple of years ago. It was an amazing experience, unbelievable experience. Let me tell you how unbelievable it was. When I saw him, we was at sound check. He was on the piano. He's playing the grand piano. And he looks up and he looks at me like I'm looking at you. And he starts walking over towards me and my brother. And I said, he's walking over here. And he never took his eyes off me. We locked eyes. I'm thinking, man, this is the magic moment. This is Joe Sample. So when he got close to me, I put my hand out and I said, Mr. Sample, I just want to let you know that your musical contribution to the jazz community has been. He said, ah! All I know is they better get this damn piano right. I'm not playing it like that. They better fix it. And he walked off. So it was my first introduction to Joe Sample. But I was so excited that I saw it come full circle.
Wow.
Ain't no mistake, it's a sign of the times. And people don't know where to draw the line. We got laws and religion and there's no peace. There's no peace.
Everything you've shared so far points to the concept of success. And everybody's idea of success is different. So I'd like you to, or I would love to hear about your idea of success.
My idea of success? Well, it's finally come to this point to where it is now. My idea of success, or success in its actuality to me, is to be able to, whatever it is that drives you, whatever it is that is your contribution to this planet, when you unlock within yourself, whether people see you, whether people so-called discover you, whether people take you in and say, now you're here, is irrelevant to you knowing who you are and falling in love with what it is that you do, to a point that you do it if nobody ever recognized it. That's success, because now you're free from the judgments of everything that says you are or you are not, or you are this or you are that. Once you get free in your mind from that, you've succeeded. No matter what it is that you do, you're free. And there's no greater success than to be free to do completely what you do and be true to self.
Just a false perception of reality. You know it ain't real. Oh yeah, can you see it now? It don't take much to realize most of what they're telling you is nothing but lies and pressure.
I would say, and this is a hard thing right here because I had to learn it. Let go of the expectations of success.
Okay.
That is not to say that you're not reaching and expecting to be successful. What I'm saying is take off the expectations of how you want that encounter to happen and focus solely on being the best you that you can be every time, especially for musicians, every time you hit the stage. Am I being the best me, or am I being complacent? Am I improving, or am I staying stagnant as an artist? Not in the eyes of other people. Other people can cause you to be stagnant, especially if you become popular, because they like you no matter what. But in your own heart of heart, are you really doing the things that it takes for tomorrow to be a greater you, or to reveal a greater you than today? Or will it just be a replica of what you are today? Along with that comes success that you can't imagine, because now people are seeing something that you're not really looking at. I don't have when I perform, I don't have an expectation of the crowd. I don't have an expectation whether they clap or whether they don't. I just got to get myself locked into a zone of being as tight as I can be, flowing as freely as I can be without being locked up and congested in my mind as a performer. Not focusing on the energy in the room, but being the energy in the room. Not focused on how well people like me, but judging it by how well I know I'm really putting out the energy. And when that focus is on me and not on what other people are doing, I've noticed that it's gone to another level. It had nothing to do with me making it go there. It has everything to do with me becoming the light that I need to be. And when people see your light, they're drawn to it. I mean, if you're waiting for your light to be ignited by other people, then you're diminishing what it is that you've been given. The greatness is already there. It's up to you to release it. Unblock and release. Unblock your mind and release what's in you.
So essentially it's allowing for the unexpected.
Yes.
And allowing for things to come organically to
Yes.
you and to you and through you.
Absolutely. And I know that sounds like cliche, but the actuality, not the reality of it, because I don't want to sound too, I'm trying not to be too like creepy deep, but but we have to realize the reality of where we are is ever changing. The reality of your limitations 10 years ago, you can laugh at today because they're not limitations anymore, because you've experienced and life has taught you. The actuality of where you are is what really is and where you really are. When you can assess yourself that way, then you begin to grow at a level where you're more concerned about uplifting other people, spreading light, spreading love to other people. That's going to do everything it has. It's not your light. It's not your love. Even though it comes through you, you're responsible for it as a earth being here. That's why you came here. But it really belongs, you're part of a greater source of light, and it's your job to represent it well. If I can say it that way, for those of you that are weird enough to get it, like what I'm saying. But when you express it that way, people have an experience. Doesn't matter how well you sing, doesn't matter how well you play, doesn't matter how well you speak, doesn't matter. Is when that intent is there, people have an experience and they're drawn to you in a way that you couldn't even imagine. It's bigger than the talent or the skill. It's bigger than that.
Oh, I can feel the pressure.
So we all have people and information that inspires us. So you talked a little bit about those people who have inspired you. Are there any quotes or a quote that you specifically live by that you kind of remind yourself about every day or periodically to keep you in the strength of your music and your production work and your entertainment?
You've heard me say this, and I've said this a lot, and I don't necessarily know if I've got this from somewhere or if it's just kind of my own way I say it, but you've heard me say this in this interview. Life is the master teacher. And so no matter what I learned knowledge-wise, what I say is what I know. I can tell you stuff that I know because I know it, but what I don't know only happens when I stop and pause quiet long enough to allow life to teach me. So life is the master teacher. And that's one lesson that I've had to learn, because I thought I was in control of some things before I was younger, man. I could tell you about positive affirmations and speaking and all this, and that's all good stuff. The higher level of it is life is the master teacher. And when you can accept that, you got something.
And we're going to segue now into, I believe, that is probably the foundation and the basis for your new single. So if you'd like to share about the single and what you named it, called it, and the background of it, anything else you'd like to highlight?
It's a single that I actually wrote it some years ago, and it's called the Pressure.
It don't take much to read the signs. Sometimes I think I'm gonna go out of my mind with pressure. I can feel the pressure.
It talks about the pressure of life. It talks about things that we all deal with, and it's perfect for today because it deals with some situations and some topics that I think everybody can kind of relate to. So that was like perfect as the song, the first song for me to put out. I don't think it could have been any better than the song called The Pressure. I didn't try to get super technical on the playing or overplaying or over singing, because I just wanted the message to be plain. So it's a pretty simple song, but I think it hits the hearts. The places I've played and kind of given samples of it, it's been accepted pretty well. But it's basically my viewpoint of just observing life and observing things and looking from hearing stories of other people, going through my own story, and just watching what's going on. That's how that song. So it's not just a random song. It's a song that hopefully people can relate to, and it'll speak to them like it spoke to me.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're finished with today's interview, and I want to thank you, Vine.
Thank you.
For sitting with me
Oh
and
my
sharing
God,
with
you are
me
amazing.
your story. Thank
You are amazing. It's good.
And hopefully, why don't you tell people how they can find you on Facebook and on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Vibe. It's V like victory, VIBE space RW on Facebook. It'll pull me right up. My song is on iTunes and every form of streaming that there is. Please go on Reverb Nation and be my fan. If you know anything about Reverb Nation, I could use that. I went from, when I first put the song out, I was like some ungodly high number, ranked in Jacksonville, like 1,600 or something. Currently number 3.
Awesome.
Yeah, on Reverb
Awesome.
Nation. So that's pretty cool. And you can check me out just about anywhere. I'm on Instagram at RW Vibe, Vibe.RW. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, Vibe.RW on Instagram. And just kind of follow me around. If you get a chance to come check out the show, do that. And just keep watching and keep hoping the best. And I hope the best for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. People that heard too many lies. Same old excuses but won't tell us why. Lack of respect still on the rise. See the needs of the people, the limits supply. Looking for love but won't value the mind. Make you